Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Toxcast. Anthony's back with us again, and we've got Garry returning of Memorrhage fame.
Hey. Glad to be here.
And today we are talking Static X. So get excited for that. But first and foremost, how are both of you doing?
Excellent. Pretty relaxing day. Just been playing video games. Overall, doing pretty well.
Very good.
I've been doing really good myself. It's been, soothing. I've been doing a birthday video, and then I've been doing, talking with my friends. So, it's been going.
Very good. So what have you guys been listening to lately? We'll start with Garry.
Lately it's kind of just been a mix of some favorites. Godflesh. I've been listening to a lot of my favorites from Godflesh. Specifically like some of their mid-90s stuff, Songs of Love and Hate and Us and Them. Really have a soft spot for both of those albums. And then I had been bouncing back and forth between those and then their newest one. That came out I think that this summer in June, and I really enjoyed actually after kind of repeated listens. It sort of reminds me of a modern more modern take on the Us and Them sound with some of the like kind of the electronic, some of the more electronic like hip hop or trip hop beats mixed in there. And then other than that, been listening to a lot of Fear Factory as well. Specifically their Mechanize album. I feel like that one's like kind of, I have a soft spot for that one too.
That's the only one with a real drummer on it.
I think you might be right.
Because I think that's the only one. Like Hoagland plays on it, and I believe that's the only one that's not programmed.
Is that right? I actually didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Huh. Well,
yeah, because
I
didn't
really
know.
love that
I didn't
album.
know for years that all the other ones were programmed until it was shown to me, and I was like, oh. But I mean, they still play it live.
Yeah. What's his name? Or the original drummer, Raymond Herrera.
Yeah,
he was insanely good. But yeah, actually, I didn't know that. Studio wise, that's pretty interesting.
The unrelated to them directly, but the one that always threw me off that all the drums are programmed is Typo Negative.
I remember hearing about that, and that did throw me off too. And after learning that, I went back and listened, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And
yeah, because a lot of it sounds like organic, but it's all programmed. It's weird.
That's pretty cool. Interesting. Huh.
And Us and Them that's the drum and bass one, right?
Yeah, the drum and bass one. Yeah.
And Anthony, what have you been listening to recently?
I have been listening to some other new metal bands. Pulse Ultra.
Ooh,
delicious.
Love it.
I really think they're a very underrated band. They don't sound like if you think of new metal, you don't really think of a band that sounds like them.
They're like smooth proggy Taproot.
Yeah.
That's
what I was thinking too.
They do vocally very much remind me of Taproot too, like in that higher range and some of the vocal patterns.
There's a song that Stephen Richards guests on, and I can't tell where Stephen Richards guests because they sound the same.
That's actually pretty cool.
I think it's Big Brother, I think.
Okay. I gotta listen to that one again
and
see if I can pick it out. That's funny.
But what else, Anthony?
Also listening to Full Devil Jacket.
Another good one.
It's so heavy. I've been listening specifically to their Woodstock 1999 set, which if you haven't
is very funny that they played Woodstock 99 in the little barn.
Yeah. And you know who also played at Woodstock 99 too, but I could never find Reveille. And
really? Wow.
Who was the Irish band?
Psychofly?
Psychofly, yes.
Psychofly played Woodstock?
Wow. Yes, they did.
Were they like the opener?
I think they were one of the first.
Okay,
early
because I know
Okay.
Full Devil Jacket was like one of the local opener bands, because that was before the major label album.
That's
Like
right.
that was Waxbox era.
Mhm. Correct.
That's cool though. I would love to see the live set from wow, it just went out of my head. Who did you Psychofly? There we
Psychofly.
go. I
That'd
would
be
love
cool.
to, because I
Yeah.
don't think there's live footage of Psychofly out there, as far as I
Not
remember.
much. Very little.
Yeah, that's disappointing because I like them.
It is.
Yeah.
I've been, because it's winter time, I've been on a heavy dosage of Paradise Lost.
Nice.
And then the strange combination of Queens of the Stone Age and Wednesday 13.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, because I really like Wednesday 13.
Me too.
But
Yeah.
Queens of the Stone Age, like I go back and forth on, and there's like a wall that I hit because I don't really like the first album that much, but I love Rated R. I love Songs for the Deaf, and I really like Lullabies to Paralyze. But and some of Era Vulgaris is good. They got a little bit experimental. I do not like Clockwork. I have tried time and again.
I think I only listened to it once. I thought it was okay. I didn't revisit it.
The new one's actually not bad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's got a vibe to it. And I was far more interested. But I keep every couple of years I go back to like Clockwork and I try, and I make it like 6 songs in, and I'm like, I am bored.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Wednesday 13 album?
Skeletons or Fang Bang.
I think Fang Bang would be my favorite.
Fang Bang's more fun. Skeletons is slightly more, I don't want to say serious with Wednesday 13, because yeah, that's a dangerous take. But that's the one where it seemed like a little bit more introspective because of the Skeletons and My Demise, and that really slow cover that he does of the Rocky Erickson song, Burn the Flames. But you know, Fang Bang is a lot of fun. Transylvania 90210 is good, but it definitely has a few duds. But no, overall I really like Wednesday 13.
I need to dive
My
into them.
friend's band Masochist, who I've posted on the channel a couple times, they actually opened for Wednesday 13 once, and I didn't get to go. And it was during, I think it was during Fang Bang era too. But yeah, unfortunate. And before we went on, Garry was telling me you've been playing the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, been enjoying it.
Has that been it, or and you've been having fun with it? Has there been anything else you've been playing at all?
Let's see. Lately, I guess right before that, I was playing my favorite game of all time, but the remake of that, Star Ocean Second Story.
That's right, you were posting that on Twitter.
Yeah,
I still need to get that.
It's super good. I think it came out in like late October, and I just played it straight, like from start to finish for 10 days or so, just nonstop. Extremely good. Kind of just elevates the original. I think I still prefer playing the original, but it was fun playing this remake. There was definitely, visual upgrades and stuff like that, but they still use the sprites for the characters, just like the maps and landscape and environment was heavily upgraded. And I think the menu system was mostly the same, but yeah, it felt like playing a version of the original. But yeah, just pretty much has been playing or was playing that, and now Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Very good. And Anthony, what have you been playing? I know you're gaming all the time.
Yes. Well, actually, when we were talking, I think it was like our first one of the first videos we did talk about like all the Spider-Man games. And one of the games you mentioned was Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, which I've actually been playing.
Nice.
That's the one where they all interweb, right?
Yes,
it's all the different versions. Because I remember the when they were advertising it, they had the noir one, and I was like, "What is that? That is cool as hell."
Yeah, it's like a 30s, 40s Spider-Man.
That's cool.
I don't think I ever actually played it though.
I don't think I've played it, but I wanted to.
There was a beat 'em uppy one around the time that I played with my brother for a little while. And
Friend or foe?
Yeah, there we go. I played that one for a little while, but I remember being disappointed again and again after Spider-Man 2 because they kept trying to mess with the controls, and kind of ruined what made Spider-Man 1 and 2 fun. Because I remember Spider-Man 3, I was like, nope, I don't like this. I don't like what they did.
Yeah, it's not great.
But I tried the Amazing Spider-Man games and I had a hard time with them. It was almost like they were too fast and like it didn't feel fluid at all. But they fixed all that with the new ones. The new ones are great.
Yeah.
I played the 2018 one. I haven't played 2 yet because I don't have a PS5. So
yeah, I know. I haven't gotten to. But the Miles Morales one was really good too.
I did like it. Yeah, that one was good.
I'll I might have even mentioned this last time. The only thing I've been playing recently, although I did play Rocket League for a day after my 2-year sabbatical, because I used to play Rocket League ridiculously, but I used to get so aggravated with it because I was pretty good and I would always get stuck. All my friends who tried playing it were bad at it, so I never had any friends to play with me. So I play with a bunch of randos, and then I play well. It's the Call of Duty syndrome where you play well and you're on a crap team, and so that just happened for the longest time. And I was like, I'm not playing this anymore. But I played it last week for a few hours, and I was like, that was fun. I'm uninstalling this immediately. But I'm full on back into Death Stranding again. I 100%ed it on the PS4 and then was like, all right, that was cool. And then really kind of ran out of things I wanted to play a month or so ago. And I was like, well, the director's cut version is on sale on Steam and it has all this extra stuff. Maybe I'll do that. And I'm near the end of the game again. So
nice. Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's been kind of it for me. Like I kind of come and go with gaming. Like I'm nowhere near as diehard as I used to be.
Yeah. Same for me. Sort of just off and on.
Yeah, understandable.
So let's get into the heart of this. Static X. When did you first become aware of them? We'll start with Garry.
It was it had to be 1999 or maybe early 2000 for sure. My first brush with them was having the sound. Oh, it's not a soundtrack. A compilation called "The Hard and the Heavy." I think
I remember that
one.
Yeah, I have that.
It was one of my first CDs, maybe my second CD. I can't remember. It wasn't the first, but either the second or third. Like one of my first CDs for sure. And that was the first time I heard Static X. I believe it was Wisconsin Death Trip. The track on it was a 2-disc thing. I believe it was on disc 2. And I think it came right after Slipknot Spit It Out, and so that was a cool like back. I had already been familiar with Slipknot, but I hadn't heard Static X, and when it got to Static X, I was like, whoa, this is awesome. This is like different, very staccato like vocals, and it just hit in a different way that I had never heard before at that time, and it really stuck with me. It was so that was the first time.
Anthony, when did you hear Static X for the first time?
Okay, so there's a funny story about this. So how I discovered Static X. I was getting into Slipknot at the time, and I was listening to them, and then I was for whatever freaking weird reason, I don't know why, but I looked up at the time. It's not there anymore, but I don't know. I was just looking up random things, and one of the Wikipedia, it was on Wikipedia. And it was a picture. It was a list of people who had Abraham Lincoln beards, and one of the people in that was a man named Wayne Static. And I saw the picture of him with his hair, his beard, and I thought, this guy looks crazy. I gotta check his music out.
Yeah. So
I looked up randomly. This was like 2012, and I had heard by that point Static. He was doing his own version of Static X after the original. But I heard
what was the last album called? I can't remember. Cult of Static, that era.
Well, it was when Pighammer came out.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, so and I heard the three were No Submission, Dirt House, and Push It.
Mhm.
I think I may have also heard Lunatic as well. Cult of Static.
Okay, yeah, Lunatic. I was like, that's not ringing a bell.
Yeah. And then it was one of the Static X were just one of those rare bands that I heard about, and I just kept listening to them. And they're like, they never had a bad song. Like every song I heard was good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it was just catchy. And Static X were just one of those bands that they didn't, when people mention that they're an industrial metal band, they don't, they have industrial elements, but
Mhm.
Wayne mentioned in interviews, they were more groove oriented.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah,
Very.
which I, thought was really cool, that they incorporate that into their music. And apparently, I haven't even heard the first demos, but apparently they were going to be like more metal techno at one point, like 95 or something.
I haven't listened to the demos in forever. I
I
remember them
hadn't in
being
a long time.
rough,
Mhm.
but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I fell in love with it, and I remember following Wayne's, tour at the time, and then I think following year, Wayne announced that Static X had broken up, and it really kind of, it was sad, sucked, and I'll get to more into that whole shebang
Mm.
when we get to it, but I still listen to them, and I listen to Pighammer, and I got a whole thing about that later on, but yeah, I just fell in love with Static X, and I still love Static X, and I still collect bootlegs of Static X, so uh, it's always cool to hear stuff like that, and I always welcome anyone who uh, loves Static X as well. In fact, my cousin, I know two people other than you, John, who've
Mhm.
seen Static X in live, and one of them was my uncle in 2000, and they were playing with Incubus.
Nice.
That's a weird show
That is pretty weird.
Yeah,
because that's
and
not even
another
the science era.
no, it wasn't. This was 2000. So,
Mhm.
and my other friend, my cousin,
Mm.
yeah, my uncle saw him in 2000 in Colorado, and my friend also did, and my cousin saw them in 2001 at the Roxy in Los Angeles with Static or System of a Down and Disturbed.
Oh, that must have been early Disturbed too.
Yeah, 2001. And it was
Okay.
Yeah.
actually Tripp's very first show ever, too.
Wow.
So
Oh, that must have been coming right off of him leaving Dope.
it was,
Okay.
yes. This was like April, May 2001. So
That's cool.
Mhm.
So I very similar to Garry. Although mine wasn't a compilation, mine was listening to the radio late at night.
Nice.
And they played Push It on the radio. And I at the time was very big into, and I still am, but Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, Stabbing Westward, those type of bands.
Mhm.
So the noisiness there definitely caught my attention. And then pretty soon after, I saw the video for Push It on TV, and I didn't. It would take like a year until I got somebody to burn me a copy of the album, but this was like old school Napster time, so I had
Nice.
managed to download Push It, Bled for Days, and Wisconsin Death Trip to a just a blank CD. So I had those three songs for about a year
Nice.
before somebody actually gave me Wisconsin Death Trip, and I got to hear the whole thing. But yeah, no, they definitely stuck with me, and I completely agree with the groove element.
Yeah.
I had friends who were exposed to them because of the Super Weirds tour, where they opened for Morbid Angel and Pantera.
I had older friends who were able to go to that. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't get
Yeah.
to go to it. I wish I did. But
Yeah, we had friends at school. I had friends at school who went to that show, and
nice.
Scrape was the opener.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. Yeah, that's a very cool, wild tour.
Yeah, like those were Morbid Angel was one of the few death metal bands who didn't seem to be afraid of taking new metal bands out.
Hmm.
Um,
Especially at that time. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was kind of my brush with Static X. And as Anthony did say, I saw them live in when did Shadow Zone come out? 2000.
2003.
Three? Yeah.
Okay, so it was around 2003, 2004 is when I saw them.
Nice.
Because it was some loaded like radio show where Static X headlined, and it was Non-Point, Soil, Breaking Benjamin, Trust Company, and this little band called Burning Brides,
Okay.
who got booed off the stage. But yeah, everyone else, Skindred was supposed to be there too, but I guess their bus broke down somewhere and they didn't make the show.
Oh, wow.
Not a big loss. I don't like Skindred.
Never got super into them. Yeah.
I like
Yeah, me neither.
I like Nobody, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I remember trying to listen to that whole album, and I was like, ugh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So we we pretty much know Anthony's take on this, but what are your feelings? How have your feelings evolved for Static X over time, Garry?
So I'll kind of start from beginning to current day. So in the beginning, instantly loved them because they stood out, very different, vocally, groove wise, the electronic industrial elements that were kind of sprinkled in, incorporated, not like leaning super heavily into it, but it was enough to like, oh, this is different. Especially like at that time when I first got into them. And then you could say 2003, 4, that's kind of when I in general kind of got out of like new metal. Just getting deeper into the underground death metal, black metal, grindcore, stuff like
You
that.
and so many others.
So many yeah, that our generation of just getting deeper into underground metal and stuff, or and then moving backwards, like getting into like 80s thrash and stuff like that. So just like learning more about metal
Yeah.
in general. So it was more like I was a sponge, just learning about all these things. So it sort of just put new metal in general kind of just like on a back burner, on the back of my mind, like, oh, okay, I'm past that. Obviously a foolish thing to say now, because we'll fast forward to getting back into it heavily, just in like the past year and a half. So in the past year and a half, like Static X has been a extremely big mainstay for me. Like I listen to them weekly, pretty much weekly. And I would say they're one of my favorites now. So it's been a peaks and valleys, or a peak and a valley, and then a peak again. So I would say I enjoy them now more than I did in the beginning.
Yeah, and from what I've gathered from our conversations, your time away gave you an even stronger, like almost newfound love for that style.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dead on. Yeah.
I know a bunch of people, and I had my time away from new metal as well, like where I went exploring, and then I
Yep.
knew a lot of people who jumped from new metal to like metalcore, and then they
Yeah.
kind of stayed in that sector, or
Yeah.
went new metal, metalcore, deathcore to whatever
Going
the
to
popular thing is now, gent.
right. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Or new metal again, but
Yeah.
like I was always a new metal fan. No, you weren't. But it's Static X is somebody I listen to on a fairly regular basis. I wouldn't say they're the new metal band, or one of the new metal bands I listen to particularly the most, but they're definitely up there, especially those first 3 albums. I will never turn away an opportunity to throw on Wisconsin Death Trip and just vibe out to it.
Yeah.
Same with Machine.
Amazing vibes. Yeah.
And people kind of crap on it, but I loved the melodic turn that they took on Shadow Zone. It's a good album.
It is. I agree.
Um, but and I assume, Anthony, since 2012, your opinions have only just gotten stronger. Your love for Static X.
More than ever, you know.
That's-
I mean, when I got into them, and then, of course, after Wayne Static passed away, of course, I kind of went on to like sort of harder stuff, kind of like, you know, of course, that was around the time when I was really getting into Devil Driver in high school and stuff like that. So I still sort of like Static X by that point, but it was like, you know, Wayne was gone, so I kind of moved on at the time.
Mhm.
And then I got into like Devil Driver, and then eventually got into hardcore bands and the like.
Nice.
But you know, for whatever reason, Static X were just one of those bands that I kept going back to, even though they had been broken up by that point and Wayne was gone. You know, the music never really left me, and always really has been a part of me for all these years, and it's always been really cool to go back. And of course, now I would say, you know, with the new album and stuff, it's been way bigger, especially these days. And
Yeah.
I've actually talked to countless people who, you know, who also love Static X in person. Like, that's never happened. Like, usually when I mention a band to someone, they're like, "Oh, never heard of them," or so. And I've actually found out through one of my cousins, my what was it? My cousin's sister's husband
Mhm.
actually worked as a roadie and a sound tech man for Static X
Wow.
back
That's
in
cool.
99 to like 2006, 7.
Wow.
A long stretch.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, so, you know, I got into of course, all these other genres, but like I said, uh, Static X always kind of stuck with me, even by listening to those other bands and stuff like that. And you know, I think it's really cool, you know, and to see more people, as I've seen over time, especially in the last like five, way after, especially after Wayne passed away, like the follow, like they really had a huge following, like especially after, you know, all that. And they've actually become somewhat, I would say, even more popular now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Somewhat,
there's a revised interest in their like history, essentially.
Hmm.
without a doubt. You know, I've actually introduced a lot of my friends to them, and you know, they all say they all love it. You know, and it's great. You know, love spreading the word about, you know, this band and their legacy. So all their albums, really.
But yeah, but as you said, there are bands that even if you take a vacation from them, they're with you
Hmm.
forever.
They have a
Like,
staying power. Yeah.
yeah. Like I have bands like that, and like even if I stop listening to them for a few years, they come
Hmm.
back and I don't forget them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
uh Garry, do you have any bands like that?
Yeah. I guess I would say, yeah, like the aforementioned Godflesh. Sometimes there are periods where I'm just not putting it on, but it's every time that I do, it's like, oh yes, I remember why I love this so much. It's like the mechanical nature of it, simplistic, heavy nature of it, and then it just like all comes back to me now, like when I first got into them. And I'd say, yeah, I would say it has also happened with Korn too. Especially like the
Hmm.
first several handful of albums, where there was a very, very long period of time where I didn't listen to them. We're talking many, many years. And then when I came back to revisit them, like kind of similar with Static X, a newfound love and appreciation for it, and just like kind of hearing things in a different light, just by going to these other bands and genres, and then coming back to them. It's like, wow, yeah, I remember exactly why I love this and why I love it even more now. So I'd say that, and then also kind of a little bit out of left field. We've talked a little bit about him before, but Arcturus. It had been a while since I had listened to them.
Hmm.
Until recently, came back and jammed their whole discography. I was like, yeah, this is just so crazy and was ahead of its time. Still, in some ways, still feels ahead of its time. So yeah, kind of a little different group of bands there.
Without trying to gloat, I just noticed yesterday when I was talking to somebody about me going to Maryland Death Fest next year,
Oh,
Arcturus is on the bill.
no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
That's
didn't
very
notice
interesting.
until like I think they were a late edition,
I
but
would
yeah,
love to see them.
they're
That
on there.
that's cool.
I'm going to make it a point to see them because
Yeah.
I like Arcturus, but I'm only really familiar with Sham Mirrors and the first one that's all green.
Okay. Aspira
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
forget. Something,
I'm not attempting.
yeah, something Aspira, something
Symphonaire.
Symphonia or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I do like that one a lot. Sham Mirrors was my first brush with them, which is interesting because I feel like it's like maybe their most avant-garde one.
it is.
Um
It's a
yeah.
weird. That was my first one, and it's weird.
And it is weird, yeah. And that was a what's a good term? Like a gate opener, like it opened windows for, it's like, whoa, this is weird stuff.
Yeah,
And it led me to many things. But yeah.
yeah. That Arcturus album, and like, there's this weird sphere of black metal
Yeah,
that's in that with like
that range.
uh I can't say his name, who Emperor guy,
Oh,
his
Isan, yeah, or Isan, or
Isan.
Isan.
Okay,
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
his solo stuff's in there, like in that
Yeah.
weird sphere.
Yep.
There's some Agatha Daemon stuff that's in that.
Oh yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, like, yeah, there are definitely bands in my repertoire where I loved them, and I was far more fickle when I was younger. I've
Mm.
mostly grown out of it, but if I liked a band and they put out a bad album, I was like, blah, I'm out. We're done.
That
Um,
did happen to me too. Yeah.
I did it with almost every one of my favorites. I did it with Manson when actually I was kind of opposed to Golden Age of Grotesque when it came out,
Mm,
but I got over it. Eat Me, Drink Me when that came out, I was like, nope, we're good. I'm
dang.
done. But then I came back. Nine Inch Nails when they dropped With Teeth, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Um, there there was another big one, Power Man 5000.
Okay.
When they put out Destroy What You Enjoy.
I
I'm
actually don't think
pretty
I've ever listened
sure
to that one.
my scathing review is still on Amazon.com from
Wow.
like 2006, where I shit on them. Same with whatever the Head PE album that came out around that Back to Base X.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I had written off both of those bands. I was like, nope, we're good. But
Yeah.
I've come back around. Um, but yeah, like, yeah, I those bands, like, they're there until the end. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's just the early sections.
Right.
Like Slipknot, I haven't cared since Volume 3, pretty much. Although there's some good stuff on All Hope Is Gone,
Yeah.
but
I do actually feel the same. Yeah.
self-titled in Iowa, forever with me.
Yeah.
Love them.
Same.
So have you ever gotten to see Static X live?
So twice, only this year, two times this year. I
Oh,
didn't get to
sweet.
see them during their prime, unfortunately. I wish I did. But on the bright side, seeing them this year with, like you said, kind of this rejuvenated interest in them, kind of elevated the experience. It was packed both times.
Very cool.
The first time was I think it was in February, the Fear Factory Mushroom Head Dope tour, and that was overall extremely fun. Like Tony Campos doing double duty with Fear Factory and Static X was cool to see.
Mm.
Just back to back. I would say that one, maybe I might favor that one more than the second time I saw them, which was a few months back with Seven Dust. But both still very good shows, very good performances by Static X. Really tight, really locked in energy and groove. Lighting was very good. So yeah, it was fun. Wish I could have seen them back in the day, but yeah, it was cool seeing them in their current form.
Did Dope open any of those?
Both of
Okay.
or wait. Okay, they did the first time. I actually don't know if they did the second one. If they did, I didn't make it. I only got there in time to see just Seven Dust and Static X. So I can't
Okay.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember if Dope did that tour.
Are we done pretending Edsel's not the singer?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's past that point where it's way too obvious.
To an earlier point Anthony made, when he said that he checked out Static X based on the fact that he saw a picture of Wayne Static.
Mm,
I checked out Dope based on the fact that I saw a picture of Edsel Dope in a circus magazine. And
that's
I was
so
like,
funny.
what the hell is this?
That happened to me too. Me and my friend were looking through a magazine together, and we both were like, who are these? Who's this? Like, who are these guys? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was the only one for years who had any knowledge of Dope.
Yeah.
Like, and then no, they released House, I think it was House on Haunted Hill. They released they did the cover of Spin Me Right Round.
Yeah.
And then that got
Yeah.
radio play, and that was the first time Dope got radio play.
Huge. Yeah. That song got big. Yeah.
But I was like, I've been listening to Felons for years.
Yeah.
American Apathy is probably my favorite album by them.
I think American Apathy is definitely third, second. I'm going to toss it up with Group Therapy. Felons is my favorite. I don't care if people call it a poor man's ministry album. They can fuck off. But yeah, American Apathy is good. The only one I'm not really that fond of is Life Has Some Dry Moments, and I may be just kind of bitter at the fact that it wasn't Felons Part 2. They tried to be a melodic alternative metal band. I was like, what is this? Although the newer albums, I have tried to listen to them twice, and I make 3 songs in, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go back to the ones I know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I hadn't dived into their newer stuff actually.
The last one I like is No Regrets. That one's still pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, American Apathy's the other one that's like has a lot of industrial elements. They kind of didn't have that on Life or Group Therapy. Although Group Therapy was when they tried to kind of be their heaviest, while also having ballads here and there.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
And making a music video for every single song.
It's kind of in excess, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember having the CD, and like you put the CD in the computer and like you could watch all the videos.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. And then like
looking back on it, actually.
Looking back on it, it's like, oh, all these cost like $150. Edsel just recorded these. He hired women and put paint on them. Stand there, dance,
move, groove.
Yeah.
I just
you know that Dope song too?
Yeah, I discovered Dope. Believe it or not, okay, so back in the day, I used to play a hell of a lot of Guitar Hero. And Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock. It was
nothing for me here.
Oh, okay. I think 3 would probably be my favorite, but every Guitar Hero game had a thing that they would have bonus songs that you could unlock and buy in the game. And one of the songs was Dope's Nothing For Me Here. 2 years before it was on No Regrets.
Yeah, I remember that being a big thing for like the Dope, because like that was back in the days of forums and the Dope like fan forums, which Edsel frequented. So I conversed with Edsel every once in a blue moon. He was always very chill. But yeah, I remember Nothing For Me Here just kind of popping up one day. They're like, it's gonna be a Guitar Hero, and then like everyone had a really shitty TV rip of it for the longest time that just sounded like ass until it finally got like properly released.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just kind of go through it. Um, Feelings at this point on where Wisconsin Death Trip stacks up as far as their discography.
I'll let Garry talk.
Okay. Still my favorite of theirs. Um, if I were to give a numerical rating, say like out of 10, I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Mm.
From front to back, I feel like from the beginning they set to realize their quote unquote evil disco sound. Like that came out of the gate on fire.
I
Especially
miss shitty
with
genre names.
you're
Bring
right,
them
yeah,
back.
the evil
Yeah.
disco. And it's funny because they leaned into that in these the two times that I saw them this year. Like they had like a ban or not a banner, graphics like on the screen that said or flashing evil disco. And I was like, okay, that's cool. They're in. They obviously know the fans like the term. But yeah, on Wisconsin Death Trip, I just feel like front to back, I feel like it's their strongest, or definitely my favorite. And I would say it's for sure in my top 10 like new metal albums. Sometimes it's bounced around like at number 5 or 6 or whatever, but overall I'd say it's one of my favorites. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely up there for me. I think if I was to say anything about it that you didn't already say, it's the most consistent of any of their albums.
Yeah.
It has the least tracks that I kind of gloss over. Like I
Yeah.
can go front to back with it, not have an
Exactly.
issue. Even December, which takes a little
Right.
bit, but once you get to the meat of it, it's good.
It's a good curveball as an
Yeah.
ender, as an out not outro, but a finisher. It's like,
You're
okay.
you're almost given an appetizer to it, to what to expect with Trance is the Motion, because of how
Yes.
slow and broody Trance of the Motion is, or Trance is
100%.
the Motion is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, those are great. And then the B-sides, Down and Head, are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wisconsin Death Trip, I'm completely comfortable giving it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Anthony, your stance on Wisconsin Death Trip?
I would say this album is I would say this is like, of all the Stack X albums, it's like my third or fourth. It is, it's my third favorite album by them.
Mm.
It's very, you could tell when they were recording it, it was very much. I don't want to say it has a raw sound to it, but it's
It does
very
ish.
I did a little bit.
sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially compared to what came after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of the catchier albums they did, and I think some of their strongest songs that, in my opinion, they probably should have played some of these later on, even after the Wisconsin Death Trip, like Oxygolation and Fix.
Yeah, Fix is a good one.
Like some of those songs are really just like, it's almost like, how do I describe this in a weird way? It's almost like being in having guitars to like a rave in a way. That's what I describe Wisconsin Death Trip sort of.
They could all be the background soundtrack to that first scene in Blade where they're in the vampire club.
The vampire club. Yep.
That's what I thought.
Another
fitting.
good one that has a strong atmosphere there is STEM.
Yes. I love STEM.
STEM I like a lot. I Am is really good. Love Dump might be my favorite song.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
And I'm gonna actually physically look at this stupid thing because I can't remember all the song names. Blah 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 blah. Sweat of the Bud.
I do love Sweat of the Bud.
Sweat of the Bud is catchy. I love it. So
good. High energy.
But yeah, Wisconsin Death Trip, a beautiful time. And we're gonna get to whatever your favorite is, Anthony. I have a sneaking suspicion, but we'll see. Let's talk Machine. Anthony, you go first on this one.
All right, so Machine, this album, for the majority of it, I think pretty much all of it, Wayne pretty much wrote all this album. And originally, I remember reading interviews back in like 2012, 2013 that apparently Machine was originally supposed to be Wayne Static's first solo album,
Huh.
Interesting.
which, listening to it. And then, of course, I think this is all a drum machine as well on this album.
Is it?
I think so. I think Wisconsin was too.
I'm not, if that's true, I'm not that shocked really.
Mm-hmm. But I think they saw what they saw Wisconsin Death Trip, and it went gold and platinum.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, we can go heavier, but
Yeah.
still have sort of that same sound that Wisconsin Death Trip had, but sort of like kind of have more alternative metal vibes from it.
They did the Slipknot thing where
bit.
they were
sure
like,
did.
let's go heavier, but also make it cleaner and like just go for the throat. And that's what Machine is to me.
Yeah, when you hear like Get to the Gone, it just punch in your nuts.
Yeah, Get to the Gone. The first time I turned on that album, I was like, what is this intro? And then I got punched in the face. I was like, oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah, and Wayne's vocals are so much heavier on this album.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, not this version particularly of Cold, but the version on the Queen of the Damned soundtrack, which I have.
Ooh,
yeah, the slightly remixed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite version of it.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Some of these, like Shit in a Bag, Burn to Burn, all these Black and White, which some of the music videos that were made
Black and White is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Or Permanence.
Oh, yeah.
Permanence, yeah. So when I mentioned that my cousin actually saw Static X back in 2001, he was actually at the video shoot for This Is Not.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
It was filmed at the Roxy that day, which I think is really cool, And This Is Not is still one of my favorite songs off the album. And it was on video game Sean Palmer's Pro Snowboarder, which I also remember from. The Song Machine is extremely underrated, and they only ever played that live a couple times ever.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen live video of it.
I heard audio, like a show from a 2002 date. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just definitely a really, really good album. And I definitely would say it's definitely it's definitely heavier. And like you said, John, it's definitely their Iowa of their discography. For sure.
Before Cold took off, This Is Not used to get a lot of radio play here. Like that was, and like everyone was like, oh, this is going to be the hit. And then Cold was on the tied in with the Queen of the Damned soundtrack. Yeah. And then that blew up
big time.
And then they were like, what if we make the next album like Cold? But what are your feelings on Machine, Garry?
Love this album. I would say for me, it's my second favorite. I sort of hold it just a cut below Wisconsin Death Trip, in terms of like maybe the amount of times that I go back and jam it. But it's right up there. It's very close. I do agree that it takes pretty much everything that they started with on Wisconsin and elevated it, heavier, a little bit more crisper, fatter production, top to bottom, like from vocals to guitars to drums, everything, and the electronic elements. Everything just feels a little bit more direct, more upfront, and like the heavier riffs hit a bit harder, which definitely lends into some of the riffs that they put on Machine, especially kicking it with a Get to the Gone. So just like the energy is there still, but the catchiness, there's an increased level of catchiness, and like Anthony said, kind of the alternative aspects to it are much more interwoven on here than on Wisconsin. So there's you're getting a peek into what they're kind of developing, or what would become of them after Machine. But yeah, front to back, love this album. It's always a good fun listen.
Yeah, the groove was still there from the first album, but the
Mhm.
hooks were a
Yeah,
lot stronger.
they definitely added more hooks. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, like it's meatier. Like
Mhm.
there's a much stronger low end.
Yeah.
The backup vocals are also more prominent here.
Yes, the vocal
Um
production. I was gonna say, yeah,
yeah.
they spent a lot more time on that, and you could tell, like it's some of these vocal parts are just they hit so hard, and they not only do they hit so hard, but they're very catchy.
Mm. And so let's talk about the the one that's either people's favorites or their least favorite.
Mm.
Let's talk about Shadow Zone. Uh, Garry, tell me about Shadow Zone. Or were you out by this point?
So this was, I wouldn't say out, but we'll say that this was like the last one that I actively followed upon initial release.
Mm.
So yeah, 2003. So it was the last one that I heard when it was released. And I at that time in the beginning, I was a bit kind of hot and cold with it. I guess I didn't expect them back then to go leaning more into kind of the catchier hooks aspect of the band. Um, so I was like, because I mean, yeah, at that time I was delving further and further into heavier stuff. So it was like
Yeah.
my tastes were changing. With that said, revisiting it, just in the past like year and a half, I actually really enjoy this album. And I mean, it's kind of funny to see the progression, but it's like it's my third favorite. So it's like in a linear thing, with Wisconsin, then Machine, then Shadow Zone. I think it has a lot of good songs. You could tell they refined their songwriting, by leaning more into to incorporating hooks with the heavy, with the groove. Um, so I would say it's a solid continuation of what they started to do on Machine.
I think this Shadow Zone for a little while fluctuated as my favorite album.
Okay.
Like it, but the thing is, all three of the first albums have done that. Like,
Mm,
and
mhm.
as of right now, I think Wisconsin Death Trip is my favorite, but like it all depends on mood.
Yeah.
Because all
Yeah.
three of them have a different mood.
Yeah.
But there is no doubt that Shadow Zone has some of my favorite Static X songs.
Yeah.
Destroy All is one of my favorite Static X songs.
Same.
Um,
Overall.
love Control It. Big fan of this is my favorite Otsego song. Otsego
Ah.
Electric.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think it is
Yes.
mine too. Yeah. Super good.
Invincible is a brilliant closer. So is a beautiful like
I love So.
ballad.
The ballad. Yeah.
But yeah, and the Only's good. It's worn thin on me a little bit over the years because that was the one that got like super overplayed.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, almost nothing I dislike on this album.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, it was definitely a shift when it came out.
Hmm.
And not a lot of people were expecting it. I remember people who are mega fans of the first two albums really writing this album off
Yeah.
when
A
it
lot of
came
my
out.
friends did. Yeah.
They're like, what is this wimpy shit?
It was among my friends group. It was divided. Like we had like two of my friends were super into the hooks and catchiness of new metal, alt metal, alternative rock. And
Mm,
then me and two other friends were like, okay, we're delving into like heavier stuff now.
yeah,
While we still like, the catchy aspects of new metal and all alternative stuff, but we were of the camp, we're like, I don't know. We're just not into this album
yeah.
as
Because at
much
the
as you
point,
guys.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if you're trying to find heavier things and then you're thrown
With this.
something from a heavy
Yeah.
band that you like that's
Mm,
softer, you're kind of like, oh, okay.
yeah.
That's kind of to bring it back to them. That's kind of like how I reacted when Volume 3 came out.
Yep.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is the follow up to Iowa.
The Iowa? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I remember seeing them live during Volume 3.
Ah.
And being like, oh, Corey's voice is shot.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
This is a problem. because that was the year they did the second stage of Ozfest on purpose.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so I saw them during that, and it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I saw them during Iowa, and they were brutal as hell.
Yeah.
Saw them with my mom. She thought they were funny.
I love that. Who are these clowns?
Yeah. She's like, he's sticking his nose in the clown mouth. It's funny. So Anthony, your takes on Shadow Zone.
All right, so as of this stands right now, Shadow Zone is my second favorite Static X album.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, again, this edition actually comes with a bonus DVD that really gives an insight on the making of it. And there were definitely a lot of changes. I mean, even though he was pictured on...
Mine does not have that.
I need to track that version down. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool edition. But anyway, Trip was pictured on Machine, but this is the first album he actually did guitar on. And a lot of Josh...
Is this the one where the new drummer is pictured, but he didn't actually play on the album?
Correct. Josh Freese played on this.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know the other guy left, either left or got fired beforehand.
He left. Ken? Yeah.
Ken.
And you could definitely tell when Wayne, a lot of the inspiration for making sort of a more clean, radio-friendly Static X was definitely Wayne's experience working on, especially his song Not Meant For Me on the Queen of the Damned soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of want to incorporate that a lot more. In fact, this is the only Static X album. It doesn't, it used to be on Wikipedia, they mentioned this, which I found funny, that there weren't any swears on this album, which...
Oh, yeah.
Another kind of thing that...
Is there really no swearing on it?
Nope.
Wow.
All right, fair enough.
So anyway, and just now, despite its sort of change,
I was gonna say, though, Static X actually isn't super known for their swearing.
No, I mean, there's a song on the next album which I'll get to that, but they kind of...
Oh yeah.
But the this album just how do I say this? It has that sort of like sound. It almost sort of reminds me of like what Korn did in 2003 with the radio hits.
2003.
Look into the mirror.
Take a look in the mirror.
Or take a look in the mirror.
Oh, that was take a look in the mirror. Okay.
And they had that song on the what was it? Tomb Raider 2.
Did My Time.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So
2003. That was kind of that year. New metal bands taking risks and trying to get more.
Yes. So, and this whole album, like you said, So's an amazing song. All in Weight is a really, really catchy song.
Ooh,
All in Weight's good.
Very good.
I do like The Only. I will agree with you, John, that it sort of has worn me because of how many times I've heard it. I still like it though.
Yeah. No, I don't dislike it, but yeah, no, it's one that I'm like, okay, I don't need to hear this again right now.
Yeah.
Kill Your Idols is another one that like is a little underlooked. I like that song a lot.
I dig that song. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monster's a really great song too.
Monster's good.
Yeah.
Dead World's good.
Dead World, I love Dead World.
And a staple on this, probably one of the best songs on the album is Control It.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's the second one. Yeah, that one's
Second
great.
track. Yeah.
And the third song's really good too. New Pain.
New Pain.
Yeah.
The demo versions of New Pain and Otsego Electric from their
Oh, that's right. Beneath
B-Sides
Between and Beyond.
compilation is also really good too. Uh, but yeah, this they definitely took a risk, but you know what? It really did. They gained a lot of fans from it. I mean, they did a
Yeah,
hell of a lot of
they increased
promotion.
in popularity for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on the X Games this year. Let's see, they were on Monster Garage, if any of y'all remember that show.
Oh wow, yeah.
I know the name. I don't think I ever saw it.
They were on Headbangers Ball a
Mhm.
That
couple
makes sense.
times, which I've never been able to find that video, but that's a whole other thing. Um, and the and what's funny is that you can't even really find many live videos from this era, like at all.
Hmm.
It's real unfortunate because I think live them live during this time they amped it up even more. So
All the
and
songs, there was a noticeable difference to the songs live than versus. Well, it also probably helped that the new drummer was playing live with them versus Josh Freese, which in hindsight it would have been very funny to see Josh Freese play industrial metal style.
That would have been
Um,
cool.
but yeah, there was more almost like the drummer had more groove in a live setting than it was on the album. I felt that there was a little bit of that missing, just a tiny bit. But like that had gotten far more catchy. And that was also it's one of the albums where I know we classify them as industrial nu metal, but Shadow Zone's one of the ones where the electronic elements are prominent.
Yeah.
Outside of like Wisconsin Death Trip, but like they're far more prominent than they were on Machine, on Shadow Zone. But
yeah, there's a lot more sampling somewhat
Yeah.
than Machine for sure. But yeah, it's definitely a really good album, and I definitely recommend for any of you. You can watch the DVDs fully on YouTube, but
all
Yeah,
right.
I need to watch that.
making it. But it's definitely. I used to go back and forth between this being my favorite or the next album being my favorite, and there
My
was
guess
a
was
time.
correct then.
Mhm. So I was a big fan of this album, like for enough to be my favorite,
Mhm.
and it might eventually down the line, but uh, it's still definitely a very solid album, and it's definitely a bit. If you're a Static X fan, you absolutely need to hear this album front to back because it's just that great. So
Yeah, it's very fluid front to back.
Yeah. They definitely
Um,
refined their like songwriting chops.
yeah, yeah. No, each song is instead of like, which I'm not discounting Wisconsin Death Trip at all. Like those
Mhm.
songs are memorable, but there's a flow to them,
Yeah.
and it kind of works better as a whole album. Like the whole process of it,
Mhm.
like it just kind of blends into each other, and it's really good. Whereas Shadow Zone, like you can take those songs out and they're still super memorable, and they can
That's a
live on
great
their
point.
own.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better.
That's a
Um,
great observation. Yeah, I do agree with that. There's like a lot more standalone
and
ability with it.
I would put Machine somewhere in the middle there, like because they
Yeah.
it wasn't quite there yet, but
Yeah.
they were getting there. All right, let's get into Start a War.
yes,
Garry, this was one I assume, based on what we just said, you came
hmm
back to.
Yeah. So when this was originally released, at that time, I wasn't even aware of a new Static X album. So this is you could say a retrospective opinion of it. So I remember putting it on, and I was like, okay, this kind of feels like to me a fairly logical continuation of what they were aiming to do with Shadow Zone, for the most part. And from what I remember, I think they brought back what's his name? He wasn't
Koichi.
Koichi, yeah, on he was brought back. And so I felt like this was a pretty solid album from start to finish. It has some really strong tracks. I love The Enemy. I love the title track, Start a War. Um, Night Terrors. I love Night Terrors. And then what was it? Dirt House. Love Dirt House. And I think they kind of elevated the catchy hooks and songwriting with what they had developed on the past two albums. I would say I like it almost as much as Shadow Zone. So it's like it's a pretty close, maybe even a tie. Maybe it's a tie for the third favorite for me. It's pretty close. I think that um they they almost like hit the mark of what they were trying to do with Shadow Zone. Like it's almost like Shadow Zone 2, but with Koichi back. At least from me, my observation soaking it in. Uh, but yeah, I do really like this album.
I think my opinion, like I do like Star to War. Star to War actually took me a little while to get into.
Okay.
And I'm not, in hindsight, I don't know why. Maybe it's because around the same time I was kind of going through my musical transitions. I was aware of it when it came out though.
Okay.
But it might have just been not what I wanted at the time.
Yeah.
But in looking at it now and how I've gotten used to it and how I enjoy it now, it kind of felt like they took the melodic elements that they had been honing and the songwriting they had been honing on Shadow Zone and added a dosage of the heaviness that they had more of on Machine and kind of brought those two together. Because there's more of a punch to a lot of the songs than there are on Shadow Zone. Shadow Zone has its harder moments, but it never gets like truly heavy for the most part. But Star Wars does.
Yeah, I would say there's an increased intensity.
Yeah. Like especially like I'm the One is a big one where like they just kind of went ape shit.
Yeah.
And like those are like that album front to back, and we'll get to it in a minute, but this is actually the last Static X album I like.
Okay.
But yeah, like front to back, this was a really strong outing.
It's a fun album. That's some curveballs too. It's cool.
Yeah. They also brought more of the groove back.
Yeah.
Like that they were kind of missing on Shadow Zone, just tiny bit. Like it came back. Anthony, talk about your favorite album.
Okay, here we go.
Nice.
So, Star War, as you can probably tell by the fact that I have the regular and the special edition with the DVD, is my favorite Static X album. It's just every song on this, without a doubt. You said, John, they definitely, with 100%, went back to the groove on this album, and there is so many punches, and it's just like it's constant. It's not. I mean, with I think with the song Brain Fog, I guess they kind of take it down a step, take it down a notch. But for the whole album, it's just like a roller coaster, a constant roller coaster.
Yeah.
That I absolutely, really, really, really enjoy. This was technically the first album with Koichi. He did additional programming, but it is the final album where Trip played on it.
Okay.
Oh, Trip did play on it.
Yes. Of course, he got fired for reasons.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of nostalgia for this album, mainly because I heard the song Dirt House also first. It was one of the first songs. In fact, I remember watching the music video for it on YouTube, where they're in that
I don't think I've ever seen a Star to War music video. Any of
them. They did two.
Okay.
They did, let's see, I'm the One.
Enemy the other one?
No.
Okay.
I'm the One. It was I'm the One and Dirt House.
Okay.
I gotta go watch this.
Yeah. Pieces is a great song. To me, like when you hear the Enemy, I'm the One, and Start a War all the way through, it pretty much gives you an idea of what the album is as a whole. Pretty much that whole roller coaster feeling I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy to this album.
Yeah. It is. Set It Off's a great song, and of course that song, I Want to Fucking Break It,
Yeah.
which is definitely one of their most underrated songs. They very rarely ever played it. I have a audio. You can find a recording of them in New York during this tour of them playing it. Uh, Otsego Amigo is a good song. It's weird,
Mm-hmm.
but I like it.
It's a curveball. Yeah, it's cool.
It's definitely the weird. I would say it's, in my opinion, the weirdest Otsego song.
I'm trying to think of how that goes. It's been so
It's like,
it's been so long since I've heard it.
mhm.
I'm gonna have to go listen to that after this.
Yeah, it's a fun. It's yeah.
And of course, My Damnation, is a great song.
That one I remember.
And Just in Case, which I don't think ever played. I think it was more played with Wayne solo wise, but Wayne also has mentioned that song was one of his favorites on this album.
That's cool.
It's definitely. You know what? I take back what I said. I would say Just in Case is sort of like the slowdown of the album,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still really good. And there were a couple songs from this album that didn't make it, which I'll later talk about when we get to Project Regeneration. But one of those songs was Bring You Down,
Oh, okay.
which actually on the DVD version, which has like the making of and some live stuff, you can actually hear Bring You Down in the background when Wayne's talking about his guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
Very,
That's a nice little Easter egg.
That's cool.
In fact, I was actually going on Internet Archive. You know what Internet Archive is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you're familiar. Okay. I was going through some like questions people asked Wayne at the time, and that was one of the songs that he mentioned. And people asked him, when are you gonna put Bring You Down on the album? He's like, one day.
Yeah.
So, we eventually did, yeah. But yeah, this whole album is it's just like I hear it all the way through, and it's like I can listen to it all the way without skipping a single song because it's that good. And it's definitely, I would say, it's not their heaviest, but it's definitely as when you compare it to like Machine,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely up there for sure.
Yeah. It might be ever so slightly less heavy than Machine, but
Yeah.
just barely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Kind of leans more into
but it had it had more melodic elements
Mm-hmm.
than Machine had. So they found their like line.
Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
the Static X scale. We want more of the melody, the heaviness. Yeah, they're kind of putting these puzzles together every album.
Where does the Evo Disco fall?
Yeah, there you go.
It's like in the food chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all just pictures of Wayne Static. This is Deep Blue Dream, Wayne.
Oh yeah. There you go.
All right, let's talk about my least favorite Static X album. Cannibal. Garry, talk about Cannibal.
Okay, so similarly with the previous one, I was not aware of this album when it initially came out. So I was one I have come back or discovered later. And my very first listen with it, I was surprised. Maybe not in a good way overall, but I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay, they've got like some solos on here. That was not an attribute of Static X, which like I like solos, but it was just it threw me off. You could tell that they were aiming for more of the industrial metal sound, little bit heavier intensity. With that said, I mean, I thought that I would enjoy it more from front to back with that aspect. There are some hard-hitting moments on this album. Like there's some cool songs, but as an album, it doesn't have a staying power with me. It lacks memorability. It lacks the Static X memorability that I felt that they were very much well known for and what they had cultivated on the first 4 albums. So it's like it has some moments, but overall, it's not an album that I revisit. I think I have only listened to it maybe 2.5 times. So, I mean, with that, just that limited amount of listens, I feel like yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the album.
So nearly everything you just said, I agree with.
Uh,
Um, to harp back to something I mentioned a little while ago,
mhm,
this was around the time Eat Me, Drink Me came out.
mm,
And that was the first
Mhm.
Manson album that was full of guitar solos. And
okay.
that threw me for a god. Well, because Tim Skold joined the band and he was like,
Ah,
what if I do guitar solos everywhere? Um, and so that threw me.
yeah.
And when I heard this, it threw me. And there was another thing that was going on around the time, as far as like him promoting Wayne promoting the album, where
Mm,
they said they wanted, and this is a death knell for bands, and I hate when they say it. We're going back to our roots. Don't
mm,
ever
Mm,
say that.
mhm.
Never.
no.
It's a lie every time. I can't think of a single time where it worked out. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
Looking at you, Corey Taylor.
ugh,
yeah.
um, he's been saying that for the last 3 albums. Each one's
Yeah,
been worse.
whole decade or so.
But yeah, they were like, we're gonna go back to our roots. And so what they essentially did was they were like, what if we take uh elements of Start a War, mesh them with some of the uh, disco-y elements of Wisconsin Death Trip,
Hmm.
add guitar solos, but forget how to write songs.
Yes, the
That's what we're gonna
songwriting.
do.
It lacked the songwriting.
So
The
yeah, no, like
yeah.
I've heard the album several times and
Mhm.
could not tell you a single song that I remember
Yeah.
going, this is definitely a great Static X song. And I'm not trying to harp on against Static X because I do love them.
Yeah.
I love those first 4 albums, but god damn it, this pissed me off. um and just a side note before we go too far ahead. um you brought up the Beneath, Between, Beyond. I got that in the right order, right? Beneath,
Yeah,
Between,
Beneath,
Beyond.
Between, Beyond. Yes.
Mm.
That album that has Crash and Anything But This on it, right?
Correct.
Cool. So anything but this, for anyone at home, was it on a soundtrack? I know it was an outtake for Machine, but I can't remember if it was on a soundtrack.
It was on a couple of soundtracks. It was on let's see, I think I want to say it was on the Valentine soundtrack by, oh no,
Bride of
um,
Chucky? No, no, no,
no,
that's
no,
not.
no, Resident Evil, I think.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, the first one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so the first, yeah, that was a good soundtrack.
It
mhm,
was. It was
there
cool.
was.
But yeah, that and so when I heard Anything But This, that came out before Shadow Zone came out. And I remember me having that MP3 and showing it to people, being like, this is what the new Static X is going to sound like. And then Shadow Zone came out and I was proved severely a liar. But then I might be having my time a little confused here. Crash came out after Shadow Zone?
Before.
Oh, it was before. Okay.
Before. Okay.
It was
All right.
on the
Beyond.
Batman Beyond. Yeah,
And
so
I
that was in
remember
2000.
okay. All right. So I'm wrong about that one. Oh wait, did that predate Machine?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So maybe my thoughts were this, because I remember the Anything But This thing.
Uh-huh.
But I think I heard Crash and thought that was what the new Static X album was going to sound like prior to Machine coming out,
Yeah.
Okay.
and being like, what? Which, in hindsight, I wish I had a full Wayne Static Mephisto Odyssey. Is that what it's called?
Mephisto
Yeah,
Odyssey. Yeah.
Mephisto
Okay.
Odyssey, yeah.
I wish I had a full album of that. It'd be awesome. Um,
Mhm.
but but back to Cannibal. I think I've said my piece. Anthony, talk about Cannibal.
Okay, so no submission. So Cannibal as a whole, we're definitely going down a little more. My lesser favorite albums. It's still great. Don't get me wrong, and I do like it for its reasons. But you can definitely tell that they lost a lot of fans with this album, and I think what their thought for it was they want to go heavy, but they missed the catchiness of it. Like they just went straight. Okay, this is going to be our heaviest album yet, which it is, I would say, but.
They kind of lost what made people like Static X.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By trying to go too much in one
They're
direction.
like, let's be a real metal band. That's not what the Static X fans want.
Yeah.
No. With that being said, though, I do still like Cannibal, and I still like a lot of the songs on it. It's definitely got Wayne's vocal. I feel like I was reading some review of it, and I think I can definitely agree to it that during the recording of this album, or after it, I would say, either before, during, or after, Wayne definitely sounds probably the roughest in this album.
Yeah.
Next to Cult of Static, I would say. And I think he blew out his voice, honestly, doing a lot of these songs. Not to say that his voice wasn't bad during after that. It was still really good during those tours, but it was just different. And this whole album is different, and there are definitely catchy songs on it. And definitely a lot of heavy songs that are like the train that was on Start a War. Let's go 10 times faster.
Yeah.
I think no, that was an Ozfest. Never mind. I was gonna say no, or did John 5? No, that was Ozfest. Never mind. But anyway, I think my least favorite song on this album is probably Destroyer. It's just kind of like, you do it again, Destroyer. But it's all right. But some of the songs, like, it's definitely like they're catchy, like Cuts You Up or Team Hate are pretty good. Team Hate, great title. Chemical Logic is really good. Electric Pulse.
I do remember Electric Pulse. I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah. I don't know why that wasn't single. And 40 Ways it's sort of, I think another thing too.
What was this single?
Destroyer.
Okay.
Cannibal was another single too. The song Cannibal. Video for Cannibal was pretty low budget too. I'll admit.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I could tell you a single person around this time who was still on the Static X train by the time Cannibal had come out.
Yeah.
Like that, most people kind of assumed they were done. Whereas like Start a War, people were still like, yeah, I get it. But yeah, I don't remember any of my friends having Cannibal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's good, but it's definitely my second to least favorite album. But I still do enjoy it. I just feel like they could have definitely gone a little bit more. Like, think they could have gone maybe more. I don't know. I'm trying to think, like maybe Star War Part 2, but less.
They could have implemented the guitar solo idea, like maybe not have it on every song.
Yeah, a little more
like
sparse.
Maybe if they had done it with like the lead single, and then been like introduce people to it and be like, oh, this is a thing we might do every once in a while. But yeah, but like that groove needed to remain.
Yep.
And that's one thing I remember Cannibal lacking was that element. Whereas there's obviously traces of Static X. Static X's working formula in the songs. I just don't feel there was enough of it to make a lot of the stuff memorable to me.
Yeah, like Reptile is probably my least favorite song on this. It's still good, but yeah,
Should have
just
been a Nine Inch Nails cover.
I know, right? Which
Actually,
we'll
that'd
get to
probably be
that.
boring.
Which we'll get to that later on.
Mhm.
There's their cover. Um, but
Yeah, they don't do good covers a lot of the
yeah,
time.
uh, but yeah, it's there definitely is some groove that they still were trying to do on some of these songs. I could definitely hear they were still trying, but uh, there was a B side on this that they recorded of an old disco song that was kind of funny though.
Hmm.
Get Up and Boogie,
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't think I've
and
ever heard that.
um, and they actually had a song that was recorded. For some reason, they put it on the deluxe edition of this, but it was recorded during the Star Wars sessions. It
Hmm.
was called the song "Beneath, Between, Beyond."
I remember seeing that floating around. I don't know if I've ever actually heard it though.
It definitely sounds kind of a lot more like Star War, but I don't know why they put it on because it sounds nothing like it would be on Star or Cannibal.
Hmm.
Some bands just do that sometimes. It's weird.
Yeah.
Or they use the same bonus track for like consecutive albums. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen songs from previous albums be used as bonus tracks for albums coming out later. I'm like, what? Why are you doing this?
That is an odd choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's one thing if it's a remix or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no,
I've-
like I can't think of any examples. I almost wanted to say Catatonia, but I'm not 100% sure if that's right.
Maybe.
But yeah, Cannibal was a thing that happened, and
For
now
sure.
Anthony's gonna start this one off because I don't want to talk about this album. Cult of Static and its crappy production. Go.
Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna say it, and I do still like it, but this, without a doubt, is my least favorite Static XL. Now, you could definitely tell that the band was really going, like the relationships behind the band were really going downhill, and they were really starting to fall apart when this was made. In fact, none of them, if I'm correct, actually none of them even liked working on it, other than the weird uh, metal 80s metal covers that they did as B-sides.
Was this when they did?
Huh.
No, that was way earlier when they did the Elvis cover, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 2002.
Okay.
I'm talking about Looks That Kill and It's Still
Oh,
the
that's
Night.
right. I forgot
Looks
about
like
that.
kill. Yeah.
That is not a good cover.
No.
Yeah. And then Talk Dirty to Me.
They covered
Huh.
Talk Dirty to Me.
Wow.
Yeah, Tony was on vocals.
Huh.
Fair enough.
It was, it was all right. Yeah.
And I like Poison, but yeah, I don't know about all that. Yeah, Static X is one of the few new metal bands I could think of that really did not do covers well.
Yeah.
Like almost every one of those bands had one in their repertoire. They're like, we need this one just in case. And Static X like had like 10 covers, and they were a lot. I don't like any of them. But yeah, Cult of Static. There's something to Stingray that I want to like, but there's something gets lost in the sound of it and the way it's the way the song is structured. Something gets lost, but there's something there, and
Yeah.
it's like the riffage. I like the riff,
Mhm.
but God, does it sound dead sometimes? I
Mhm.
was like, where's the production on this? Make it
Mhm.
meaty. But yeah, it was almost like, to me, Static X went for a raw sound
Yes.
way too late.
Yeah.
Like it was because there was a gap between this and Cannibal, right? A decent
2
gap.
years.
Oh, it was only 2 years? Okay.
Okay.
Because this, if I remember, was around the time Korn did that album that was really ill-advised, that was back to their roots.
Corn 3.
Korn 3.
Or three.
Which has grown on me over the years. I actually
Yeah.
don't hate that album.
I don't hate it.
I like it a lot more than See You on the Other Side. But
Yeah.
but there was this running of bands who were trying to go for a leaner, rawer sound, and I don't know exactly why. They were some critic somewhere said that metal bands were getting too overproduced. So as a reaction to it,
It went
certain
way too
bands
far.
started
The other way.
underproducing it. I'm like, no,
No.
stop that. It sounds like shit.
Do what you do. Do what you have done well.
Yeah. No, let's just completely alienate our audience. They love it when you do that. But yeah, talk a little bit more on it, Anthony. You felt like you had more to say.
Yeah, Cult of Static. Yeah, the what I was saying about Cannibal when Wayne Static pulled out his vocals, absolutely, you can hear it on this album.
Yeah,
Like his vocals are probably the roughest I would
Mm.
say on this album. And the song Stingray, it's good, but it's repetitive in a way. Uh, there are some songs in here that I'm just like, okay, whatever, like Terrified, but Isolator, you know. Skinned is probably my least favorite on this. There are some catchy stuff though on here. Like they were trying to go back to that whole catchy thing with their music, and Z28 is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and and they also kind of still did the whole guitar solo thing with Lunatic, which for
Yeah.
some reason like got Dave Mustaine of all people.
That's
I remember that.
it's interesting.
So
Yeah.
weird having Dave Mustaine on a Static
On
X song.
Static X.
I
Yeah.
know. But this album, you know, it's definitely the one I least revisit. I do still like it, but like I said, you could definitely tell when this album came out that they were just like done with each other and just done with the band in general.
Which is sad to see. With like those albums never turn out great,
Mhm.
or you know, say I'm going to say rarely turn out
Mhm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm thinking of it, completely unrelated, but because you said the Mustaine thing, there is something both of you should listen to after this.
Mhm.
And because it's super weird and makes absolutely no sense. So there is an Alice Cooper song from the mid 2000s where he has Exhibit on the song. It is called Stand, where
Wow.
it has almost rap style production, and Alice Cooper does his normal thing, and then there's just a rapping section with Exhibit on it, with Alice
That's
Cooper
wild.
kind of doing vocals in the background, and it's fucking weird.
That's crazy. I've
Really?
never heard that. Wow.
And there's
Okay.
another one where he Alice Cooper pseudo raps, where John 5 plays guitar throughout the entire song. It's called Disco Bloodbath Boogie Fever.
Wow.
And it is one of the most ridiculous things he ever did. And the thing is, it's really good. And the guitar solo that John 5 does is batshit fucking insane.
He is a really
And-
good guitarist.
And
Underrated.
I saw him do a solo show, and it was awesome.
Nice.
He did 2 Michael Jackson songs, and they were great.
Wow.
He did Billie Jean, and he did Beat It, and
That's cool.
wonderful. He also had a different guitar for every song. But yeah, listen to those. At the very least, listen to the song with Exhibit.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. It's off
I'll
of
have to check
Dirty
those out.
Diamonds, I think.
Okay.
I will look into that for sure.
That sounds fun.
That-
Yeah.
Really, Exhibit and Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never
Well,
would have
Alice Cooper
imagined.
was also on an ICP album. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He does the intro to Great Malenko. Great
That's right.
Malenko. Ha 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 ha. All right. Garry, what are your thoughts on Cult of Static?
Pretty much I don't like this album. I gave it a shot. And I'll kind of add on to that. The production is noticeably weaker, neutered, lacking in punch. It doesn't do any of the components of the instruments or of the mix any favors. Like I feel, yeah, Static X or Wayne Static's vocals, like they're lacking. They don't have the excitement or the energy, the like saturation that it had that in previous albums, like even on Cannibal. Although that was kind of the start of like kind of production issues in my opinion, vocally. But on here it's much more apparent. Because like they definitely tried to increase like some of the melodic sensibility again, bouncing after Cannibal, but it's like with this kind of raw production or underproduced production, it doesn't work if you're trying to bring back more of that melodicism, that sensibility. And
It
then
gets
like
lost.
it gets lost, yeah, and the bass overall, like just the like not just the bass guitar, just the overall bass region of everything, it feels lower
It
than
the
all the
album
previous
feels like
albums.
it's lacking a low end.
Yeah, so when that's lacking, the groove, the drum grooves, the bass, like the riffs, they just don't hit. So
Yeah.
it's like everything's kind of falling apart, and like you said, it's getting lost. Nothing's memorable hitting you, wanting you to come back and listen to it. So yeah, it feels like this was, or it is, or yeah, was the downfall of like, kind of seemed like the members were just, they weren't all on fire,
Yeah. And
with
it
each
probably
other.
didn't help that they weren't getting along, so they probably
Yep.
wanted to spend as little time on it as they had to.
Yeah, it's
And
like
yeah,
this
and
album just felt like a job to just,
yeah,
oh, we'll just get this one out. Yeah,
yeah.
call it a day.
And those always work out great.
Right. Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
the only album I can think of off the top of my head, and there's got to be other ones, but the one album I can think of off the top of my head that was such a disaster for as far as like them recording it, like
Mm.
because I read all about it in there's this death metal book that the Decibel guy wrote called Choosing Death,
Okay. Yeah.
where they talk about Carcass doing Swan Song, and
Okay.
that was a inferno of a disaster.
Wow.
But I love that album.
I think Swan Song's awesome. It's a fun one.
but boy, do they not like it. They
Yeah.
all don't like it. They like people like asked to have their names taken off of it credit wise. But
Jeez.
so one of the only times I can think of where a disaster kind of worked out.
I see. Yeah.
I
Like the
mean, the band
process
didn't
going into
survive
it.
it, but
Yeah. True.
but yeah, this album felt like Static X, whereas there was still something there with Cannibal.
Mhm.
This album lost what made Static X Static X. It didn't have it. Like it was just, it wasn't there at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I talked about how I couldn't tell you anybody who had Cannibal. I don't know if I know anybody who realized Cult of Static existed.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't tell you any promotional stuff that was ever done for this.
Yeah.
Whereas I do remember promotional stuff for Cannibal. I remember that being it posters in store, like when, because CD stores are still prevalent.
And there was
I
also a flash game.
I
Oh,
did
wow.
not know that.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Of the members like eating. It's like a cannibal game, and like you have to eat all the zombies.
Wow.
That's
That's actually kind of fun.
yeah, that is actually awesome. That's the
Yeah.
most fun thing I learned about Cannibal today.
hmm
So this might be more of a Anthony directed thing because I'm not sure on Garry's knowledge on this.
Yeah.
Pighammer. Knowledge, thoughts. I listened to it once forever ago. I recall not liking the way it sounded, and I don't think I've listened to it since.
I haven't heard it. Anthony, take the wheel.
Okay. Before I go into Pighammer, I do want to mention one really cool thing about Cult of Static here. I actually have an autographed copy of
Oh,
Cult of
wow.
Static by Wayne and Tara.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
And you know where I found it?
eBay.
No. I was at a swap meet for this
Mhm.
guy who was selling CDs, and he was selling this was just some random average Joe. This
Mhm.
dude, he was selling CDs for $5 each,
Okay.
and normally I'm like look at Stack X CDs, I'm like okay whatever, but I found this and I was just like, you're never going to get that again,
No.
No.
especially with Wayne Ortera. So
Yeah, and plus for that like price, no, definitely not.
Yeah, that's wild.
yeah, not definitely paying not $300 for it.
Did I ever tell you that I when buying, because I had the main Blank Theory album, if you're familiar with them,
Ooh,
Mhm.
Blank Theory. Okay.
and they have two EPs as well, and I ended up finding them both on eBay and got them sent to me, and one was fine, the other was autographed by the entire band.
Wow.
I do
It-
remember that.
It cost me $7. So
What a hell of a deal.
I have an autographed Blank Theory album for no reason. That fell out of me. That was awesome. but yeah, it is cool. It's cool to have I've never been an autograph chaser.
Same.
I have a couple of things autographed in my collection, but it's never been something like I'm cool with meeting people, but
Yeah.
autographs are never a thing like I go or my go-to.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so Wayne Static Pighammer. So Pighammer was, of course, Wayne's first solo album he did after Static X. Now, this album he did all by himself. He did the drums, the bass, the guitar, the singing, production, everything.
Wow.
I remember hearing this a lot because when Static X broke up, and I kind of thought, they would never get back together with how it kind of went down. I was like, you know what? I'll always love Static X, but I gotta move on to the next thing, which was Wayne Static stuff.
Mhm.
So I picked this. I got this for Christmas one year, and this album, sort of how they said, "Oh, let's go back to our roots with Cult of Static." In a sort of weird way, it kind of goes back to Stack. He goes back to Stack X's roots with kind of like Machine Era with this album.
I recall, for the little I remember, I recall it sounding slightly better and more in tune with Static X's sound than Cult of Static did.
100%.
Hmm.
Wayne's
to check
voice
this
was a
out.
lot better. Oh, yeah.
I do, however, also recall it having not quite as bad, but similar production issues to Cult of Static, maybe closer to Cannibal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
Wayne did.
there was something lacking there.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he does everything by himself, and you could definitely tell that all the other guys were not with him at this point. So he kind of did everything and what he could do, with hearing, what his bandmates had done, and he kind of did it with this album. And I really do enjoy this album a lot, and it's definitely really, really sad that this was really his swan song because I think he could have done a lot more. I could definitely hear him doing a lot more, sort of like what, kind of going back to if Wayne recorded another album, I feel like it would have probably been another Shadow Zone, maybe.
I could see him doing that. Because I don't think he would have reformed Static X, and not immediately. He might have done it around the time we're in right now. He might have reformed him by now. But I think he would have put out a few more solo albums, and it would have done well because he was a name at the point at that time. That's why he was able to do the solo album, and people cared because people liked Wayne. But yeah, I could totally see him second time around doing a something more Shadow Zone. I could see him incorporating more synth stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like maybe harkening back to his roots of like when he used to do like synthy stuff.
Yeah. In the
I could
80s.
see him bringing, make a just be Deadsy.
That would be cool.
But yeah, it is unfortunate that we'll never know what it truly would have been.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, going to this album, I think it's really like a lot of the songs still stand by. The song was it what was it? Oh, Static Killer is a hell of a song.
Okay.
It's just like, it's just like, it's almost like an anthem sounding song.
Ooh,
that's cool.
It's like a march. And there are definitely some like fast songs too. Not, they're kind of like more like on the same level as like Start a War. Not like Cannibal era fast, but like Thunder Invader it sounds slightly a little more heavy than Start a War, but still definitely that sound. She's catchy. He definitely really, really went back on the groove on this album.
That's
and
good.
Behind the Sky sort of like brings back sort of like that sound like the song Invincible did. Like that.
Okay.
Kind of like tried to do another Invincible, which by the way, he actually did play December. He did play December during the Wisconsin Death Trip 15th anniversary tour.
Really?
Wow.
He did. He played the whole album front to back.
That'd be
That's
interesting
badass.
to see live.
Oh yeah, you can find a ton of videos.
Okay.
Assassins of Youth, of course, was the main single. With the music.
I do remember that. Yeah, that had a video, right?
Yes, sure did.
Okay.
Directed by Matt Zane from Society One.
Wow.
I have a Society One album somewhere.
What do you think of Society One?
They're pretty good. They were amongst a grouping of like industrial metal, like with new metal element bands who kind of blended together to me, but they were good. I just don't. I'm drawing a blank because that was a band I found when I was getting back into new metal. Like that, they weren't there. I didn't know them the first time around. And they were one who like became evident. And then I picked up their album around the same time I was picking up a bunch of other albums. So it kind of unfortunately blends into all those other ones.
Okay.
But I remember liking it. So that's at least something.
For sure. I think the heaviest song on this is probably Slave. Oh, no. No, Slave was the heavy song. That was the anthem song. I got that and Static Killer song. No, Static Killer is the one with that's very industrial.
I do remember there being more prominent industrial elements compared to the last couple of albums. Well, but compared to Cult of Static, they were there a little bit in Cannibal.
Yeah, very much so, especially with like some of the songs like Shifter and She, 100%. And, I do think that, like you were saying, John, he really could have gone like sort of like the Shadow Zone, sort of like with more synths. 100%. I remember at the time really looking forward to it. I remember following him very much around this time when he was touring solo. In fact, did I ever tell you both that I almost met him?
You did meet him, or you almost met him?
Almost.
Okay.
He was doing some signing in LA, and I had to go to some Christmas party, and I had thought, oh, he's gonna be doing something else down the line. So,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I remember he was going to go on tour with American Head Charge and Powerman 5000, which my uncle was going to take me, and of course that tour. It
What
did
year was
happen.
that?
2014.
Trying
The
to
year
think of
went
what
past.
when had the other American Head Charge album hadn't come out yet, right? When did Tango Umbrella come out?
I'm not sure.
That must have been. I think that was later. I'm trying to think of what Power Man era that is. Uh, um, fuck.
Yeah, I don't know.
That that I think it's that crappy album with How to Be a Human on it. That I can't remember the name of. But yeah, that would have been a that would have been a very late for the party tour.
Yeah, it sure would have been. But yeah, just then when I found out, oh yeah, he was also going to go on tour with Drowning Pool in England.
Another one.
Which I found kind of strange because it was post Dave. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see Drowning Pool with Williams at Ozfest '02.
hmm.
But yeah, they were really good. But yeah, no, his passing killed that band, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Although I do like the album after Sinner.
Desensitize is good.
Hmm.
I don't like the ones with the Soil Singer though. As much as I like the Soil Singer, it didn't work for me.
Yeah, they're just yeah. But yeah, if you haven't heard Pighammer, I definitely highly recommend listening to this. I give it another shot because I really do think
It's definitely been a long time at this point. So yeah, I should have listened to it before we did this, but I did not.
it's what should have come out after Cannibal, my
Okay.
opinion.
So
Like if Static
it's
X broke up,
him doing a do-over essentially.
yeah, like if Static X broke up in like late 2007 instead of 2009,
Mm-hmm.
then this comes out, yeah, definitely. Uh,
So I have heard this album once, but Garry can talk a little bit about this because he got to see the incarnation of it.
Yeah.
Regeneration Project. Thoughts
Project
on that?
Regeneration.
Project Regeneration. Yeah.
Project. Oh yeah, backwards. Whoops.
I like it. This obviously, it's a reincarnation. But it feels fresh. It feels like a good tribute to the Static X sound and kind of overall, like ethos of what they, came to be with the Evil Disco. Their aesthetic and music like all coming together. I would say I definitely like it more than Cult of Static. I like it more than Cannibal. It has really strong moments. Like there's some really catchy stuff in here. There's some really heavier moments that they kind of lean back into again on here. I think the production is definitely stronger, like kind of not my favorite production of theirs overall, but it's good. I think it fits what Static X wants to do. There's some moments on here that are harkening back to kind of like you could say one of their main influences in Ministry at times, which is cool. So it feels like just like a really good tribute to Static X and Wayne. I have seen other people not like it at all, but for the most part, I think it has a really good reception. So yeah, I think it's a strong album. It's not my favorite, but it's good.
Your sentiments are pretty much mine.
Yeah.
Like they it wasn't the disappointment that Cannibal and Cult of Static were.
Yeah.
It harkened back to like they got their low end back.
Yes.
And yeah, it feels like Static X again without also while also missing but not missing Wayne because his vocals were there, but the song, did he have songwriting credits too? Like were there riffs used that he did, or was it just vocal parts that he did?
I feel like it was just vocals
Okay.
and lyrics. maybe he did some of like the like drum program or like electronic programming maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember being fine with it. Like it's something I need to re-listen to. Then I believe there's a part 2 either out or coming out.
There
Yes?
is. I think this or 2024. Yeah.
Okay.
Next month. Yes.
Oh, it is next month. Wow. Okay. So
Oh,
right out the
that's
gate.
all right. That's coming
Cool.
up.
Looking forward to that one then.
Anthony, talk about Project Regeneration.
All right. So, kind of before I get really into it, I guess I could talk about when I first heard that Stack X were getting back together. Now, they got back together in 2018. And my initial thoughts were it was kind of mixed because I was like, uh, that it's like I kind of found it kind of strange that they were kind of coming back even after the whole. I mean, Wayne was gone like I think 4 years by that point. So for them to get back together, and I was like, I don't know, because I've seen bands who before have tried to get bands or singers back together, and it could either go really, really poor or okay.
Yeah.
Like, like what's to say if down the line if Linkin Park have another singer, so
No, it wouldn't go over well. It'd be weird.
It would definitely be strange.
Very strange, yeah.
But and then
the
they
guy
were
from Dry Cell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sonically pretty close. Pretty dang close.
So when they announced this album, and then they said, oh, it's going to be the last recordings, because I had been told, or I remember when Wayne passed away, he was working on his second solo album. And I think he got like, I don't even know how far he really got into it. I think he got like, maybe if I were to estimate, 25-30%, maybe even not even that, because I know he was on tour for that whole thing, and he had went to China for his last show. So they were going to put out his last songs, or that tribute. They had a tribute show, which you could find on YouTube easily. It was all right. And I remember Tara, before she passed away, Wayne's wife, mentioning that she had the last songs. And of course, after she passed away, I never really knew what happened to those. So I assumed like the family inherited that and gave it to the band later on.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy this album, and it's almost like what they did was like they were like building a robot with this. I mean, obviously Project Regeneration. They took old recordings of Wayne and put him into new compositions. Like if you hear the version of, you can't hear it that well because it's like from the distance, but if you hear the version of Bring You Down on the bonus DVD of Start a War, and then listening to this, it's definitely a lot different speed wise. Like it's definitely a lot slower in the Start a War sessions, where in this version you can tell they like sped up the speed of which Wayne was singing with the new guitars.
Yeah.
And some other songs like that were, really good. Actually, when I pre-ordered this, it actually came with a signed booklet with Zero, Tony, Koichi, and Wayne.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
Since I had pre-ordered it, you could get your name in the booklet.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
So my name's in there.
Nice.
Hooray! You're part of Static X lore.
Love it.
I am.
Forever enshrined.
I sure am. But I think it's a really well done album. It's a very good tribute to Wayne. I don't. Would Wayne have thought these were the best ways to release old songs. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know, but I think I think he would at least approved somewhat of it, how these were composed for sure. Like, and also not every song on this is sung by Wayne. There's a
That's
lot.
right.
There's some songs that are sung by Edsel, which are also good too. I do like
Yeah.
the song.
If anybody's gonna impersonate Wayne, Edsel's pretty
Pretty close.
in there. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like the song, all the music videos were pretty good too. Bring You Down is probably one of the better songs. Something of My Own is a really, really good song. I kind of wish we kind of went back to the days of like metal songs being in soundtracks again.
Yeah, I kind of miss
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I also
Because
miss the era of there being like exclusive songs on soundtracks.
Yes. I thought that was always cool.
yeah,
It gave
Manson
it more
kind of did
special
that.
meaning. Mhm.
Yeah, Manson did it. And then there was like specific soundtracks where like that's the only place you like Heavy Metal 2000.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those songs were just like only
Exclusive
on
to
that soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Like this Atomic Blonde. Manson did a cover of Stigmata by Ministry.
I don't think I've ever actually heard that.
Really? You gotta
Yeah.
check that out. He does a really. I remember thinking of it, and that was like the heaviest he had sounded in a very long time.
That's weird.
Yeah. And I thought that was what Heaven Upside Down was gonna sound like, and it was like,
Ugh. My least favorite Manson album.
yeah, but that's a whole nother
We're
conversation.
going back to our roots. Shut up, Manson.
yeah.
Do
That's a whole
Mechanical
nother-
Animals again.
Yeah, I know. yeah. Um, it's Project Regeneration is very good. Hollow's a good song. Dead Souls featuring Al Jorgensen.
Yeah.
It's a great track as well.
Is that a cover?
No,
Oh.
it's an original song.
But his
Just trying to
sounds
picture
very Ministry.
Static X doing a Joy Division cover. Like, I don't know how this is gonna work.
Yeah, and I remember at the time, before it was announced that Edsel was going to do the songs or whatever, I remember they were going to have guest stars for every single song, and
That makes sense. I could see that.
Yeah.
and it would have worked easily. I could have seen it, but I think Al Jorgensen ended up being the only guest on it, which I'm fine with. He does a really good job.
Could have
Oh yeah,
done a reverse.
Dez wasn't Dez on a couple of songs?
He was going to be on.
Oh, he's gonna be. Okay.
They could have done a reverse Queen of the Damned and had Jonathan Davis come and do the vocals and all the songs.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been wild.
And I think they were going to have David Draymond in a song or two, which
I can see that. That would make sense. I could also, because I know they were running buddies with them for a while. I could have seen some of the System of a Down people having something to do with them.
Yeah. Spine Shank, maybe even.
Yeah,
for sure.
Shank.
Yeah, I miss them.
Yeah.
They can stay gone with that last album they dropped. And go away.
Yeah.
I
fair
didn't
enough.
like that last one. Yeah.
No, unless you're gonna do Height of Callousness again,
Right.
or do Strictly Diesel again. I dare you, Spine Shank. Do it.
Johnny Santos, he is working on a new album with Tommy Decker, but it's not under the Spine Shank name. It's them two, like a duo. Well, maybe there's other people involved, but it's not Spine Shank. But they've talked about on social media that it's supposedly gonna harken back to early Spine Shank sound. So we'll see. Yeah.
If
Don't
they
know
can
when.
pull it off,
Mhm.
I'd love to see it.
I would love to see it.
I remember showing a friend of mine who's not the biggest new metal fan, some of Strictly Diesel, and about 4 songs in, he's like, "So why is this band just covering the Deftones?"
Yeah.
And I went, and I looked at him, and then I listened to the songs, and I was like, I've never heard that until now.
I actually, yeah.
And
My very
I was
first
like,
brush with
oh,
it, I didn't think of that, but there is.
there is a Deftones element, especially in the vocals.
Yes, there's like a, it's
I was
almost
like,
like their
oh,
their
it,
take on it, but
yeah,
with their own spin, an
industrial
industrial spin.
Deftones.
It's, I can see it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like around the fur kind of era, sort of.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I really do. Anyway, going back, I really do like this, and I definitely highly recommend it for any Static X fan. And
Hmm.
uh, I like the songs that Wayne did and Edsel. I think they both did, for what they were able to work with Wayne's vocals, they did great. And the guitars sound definitely heavier. They kind
Yeah.
of, I don't want to say they sound gent like, but they
There's
definitely have
some
a.
modern, yeah,
I
sound to
understand what
it.
you're saying for
Mhm.
sure. Like, there's the thing is, it's hard to escape that now because there's
Hmm.
so much like that's been done to death where you're gonna see
It's like
elements.
de facto.
It's
Hmm.
just part of a sound now that people just use.
Mhm.
Like
When
when
are we gonna
bands were
see
you doing the
HM2 new metal?
yeah, do it.
Yeah.
uh, all right,
Uh,
so um let's talk about just briefly, because Gary's here. What are the next steps for Memorrhage?
Oh yeah. Um, so I've got the second album, the follow-up to the self-titled. It's all musically, it's been done for a couple months.
Mm,
Sort of just waiting on Orion. Gonna add some electronic elements to one of the songs
very cool.
um from Drop Spike, yeah. And super looking forward to that. So that maybe will be a spring or summer release. I'm definitely aiming for that middle time of the year again.
Mhm.
Just seems to vibe with me, and kind of leading up to it, I can appropriately promote for it, and do all of that kind of behind the scenes PR stuff and whatnot to really get a good audience for it as a follow up. So that's coming hopefully middle of the year, and then might try to get a couple music videos done for it. Definitely time consuming, economically consuming to get those done well. But I want to at least get at least one. And then oh yeah, I guess the last thing really, other than um, Orion's contribution is getting the album cover done. So that's,
Okay.
I'm kind of waiting on that in the next maybe month or 2 months. I've sent like a concept to an artist, just kind of waiting back on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And
that's kind of what's next.
I
right on.
remember you talking to him. Is Doug doing anything on the album?
Oh, yes, absolutely. He's gonna be on, let's see, I think it's four, it's a 10 track album. I think at
Hmm.
least, yeah, I think he's on four of the songs. Oh, that's right. Actually, I'm waiting on his last song, which is also going to be the same song that Orion's providing
Oh,
contributions to. So that's going to be a
really
cool,
cool.
a link up there. I kind of deliberately wanted that to happen. I was like, I don't really want Orion's feature to coincide with at least one of Doug's
Yeah,
songs. So that's cool.
Memorrhage
Just
featuring Drop Spike.
exactly like a cool little vibe. Which actually, I mean, technically, yeah, that is featuring Drop Spike. So yeah, super into the scratching that Doug does and has provided with me so far with three of the songs so far. It's incredible, like super technical scratching. It's
Yeah,
almost
he's really good.
atmospheric. Like, and I gave him a prompt where I was like, okay, listen to these songs and scratch as much as you want, and I may go through and lower, like lower the volume on some parts, just for like dynamics. But to be honest, most of the time, like where he's scratching, like, wow, I love that. I don't want to turn
Yeah,
that down. Like, it's just amazing. It adds a whole like atmosphere to it. It's almost like a secondary rhythm as scratching pretty much is.
Yeah.
It's like a secondary rhythm slash lead instruments. It's like one of my favorite things about new metal that does feature turntables. But yeah, Doug has done a fantastic job.
Yeah, Doug is a nasty DJ, and
Insane.
he is also super chill. The few times I've talked to him,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Doug a lot.
I loved
And
that the episode one of the episodes that you did with
oh,
both
that's
of them.
so long.
It is a long one, but man, I had a lot of fun with it. I had nothing to do, so I was like, I want to watch this one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also, I think there was like a 20-minute bit in the middle that is cut out because
Oh,
we need to everyone regroup for a sec. We'll leave
oh,
the
okay.
call on,
I see.
but we've been doing this for an hour and a half.
Intermission. Yeah.
I know we're gonna go another hour or so. So everyone just go get a drink, grab something quick to eat, and then we'll come back.
No, it was fun.
But yeah, for anyone who hasn't and anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go get the Memorrhage album.
Hey.
It's this thing right here.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, excellent. And Gonemage sometime the same time frame.
Earlier. So that one, the next Gonemage album, I'm shooting for February.
Okay.
Only just because I I sort of a personal thing. I just don't like to release anything in January. At full length wise, I have done it in the past, but for some reason, like January feels like a month where most people are decompressing from the previous year, music wise. Like if you're a big album consumer,
it's the end of everyone's done their end of the year list. Nobody wants to hear anything in January, but yeah, February, March seems safe.
Yeah, so I'm aiming maybe mid-February, early March at the latest. So we'll see. That's going to be an exciting, interesting side quest, perhaps, to what I've been cultivating with Memorrhage. It'll be fun.
And I hope they both go really well because people seem to really like Memorrhage. Yeah. So I'm hoping the second one does even better.
I hope so too. I'll say that it is a fairly solid continuation sonically of the self-titled with a couple more bells and whistles added. Really my main motivator, I guess, sort of like the pulse of the album was to take what I did with the self-titled and just more of everything, more of all the little things that made the self-titled a fun album to make. So yeah, really just solid continuation is my goal.
Excellent. All right. Do you have anything else you would like to plug, or are we just gonna wait on the Memorrhage Gonemage stuff?
I'd say that, yeah. Nothing else that I can think of. Yeah.
All right. Anthony, you got anything you want to plug?
I mean, just keep subscribing. I actually been thinking about this for a long time, but I think I want to start doing album reviews on my YouTube.
That's
channel.
Cool. Nice.
I definitely want to review albums of bands and certain bands and albums of stuff that no one really knows about much, or I think needs to get out there more. I'll definitely I always shout them out, and or I will shout them out and always give them a good review. So I'll definitely work on that for sure. I've been thinking about a couple of albums I really want to talk about, which no one really has seemed to talk about. So
those are good to do because you can.
I love that.
You can corner a little market.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If people like them, cool. Not cool.
Yeah. Still having fun doing it.
Yeah, as long as you're doing it for fun, who cares? Just keep doing it. You'll get a little audience.
Yeah, for sure.
And my channel's some strange reason on the road to 1,000 subs. Somebody they were joking. We were joking about it last year. Like, you're gonna hit 1,000 subs. I'm like, yeah, sure I am. And then this year got weird, and all of a sudden people started subbing like crazy, and I've had 200 50 new subs since August, and I'm like, I don't know
That's
what's
cool.
happening. Don't know.
More power to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and as I had already said on my little personal channel, that like coming up at the end of December, like that's going to be kind of the end for the full album individual song uploads, because I kind of want to focus more on stuff like this, or maybe I'll do some sort of review thing. But like I wanted the channel to be less about that, but I'm not, everything's staying up there. So everyone who goes and watches, checks out the channel for that stuff, it's going to stay there. But
Nice.
but yeah, I feel there's 5,000 other channels doing uploads. I'm kind of all right.
Fair.
But yeah, it looks like it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen before the end of this year unless something crazy happens, because I need 87 more. But
Oh wow. Yeah.
but yeah, sometime in January, I think.
It'll get there. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of all I got. Exciting times.
Awesome.
But okay, thank you for watching, everyone. And one final thing, because it just came out, there was a re-recording of Paradise Lost Icon from 1993, because it's the 30th anniversary. So there's a re-recording up on Spotify. Don't listen to the re-recording. Go listen to the 1993 version. It's awesome.
I do love the I didn't know that they were re-recording it. Interesting.
Yeah,
I love the original.
It's fine, but like there's a charm to Icon, and they kind of, it gets lost. It's weird. I don't like it, and I'm very worried.
Recordings make things get lost, or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't mess with something that old without,
it's hard to
like,
recapture
losing
something old.
Yeah. And I'm worried that they're going to do the same thing to Draconian Times in 2 years, which is arguably one of my favorite metal albums ever.
It's great.
Please don't, Paradise Lost. Please don't.
Yeah, leave it alone.
But all right, until next time, thank you everyone for watching. Perfect time for the headphone to fall out now. All right, see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.